What is up, guys? Welcome to 1010 Talk. I know I haven't put out a lot of videos in the last couple weeks. I've been super busy, but I figured I'd come at you with a banger footage and a review of the 1016 Explorer. So we're talking about a $20,000 vintage Rolex right now. This particular model comes from 1967, and as you'll see later on in the video, it is a full set with box and papers. A pretty incredible example, as you can see in the video here. It still has relatively thick lugs, hasn't been over polished, almost looks like a relatively brand new piece, even though it is 50 years old plus. So I don't want to get too far into the history of the Explorer because there are plenty of videos and articles that talk about it. The Explorer first came out in 1953. It has ties to Mount Everest, being at the summit. But this particular 1016, like I said, is from 1967, and it has a matte dial. It was purchased from HQ Milton. Shout out to them for having some great vintage Rolex inventory. So in particular, the 1016 first came out in 1963 and spanned all through 1989. So I believe it is the longest running Rolex reference in history. As you can see here, it comes on its original 7206 rivet bracelet that the Explorer had at the time. And a lot of brands are recreating these rivet style bracelets. And I want to focus on this video mostly of how this watch actually wears and what it's like to handle a $20,000 vintage Rolex. And as you would imagine, the bracelet, to be honest, is pretty shitty. I mean, it's 50 years old. It's really rattly. It's stretched at this point, but it is extremely comfortable. You'll see it's 36 millimeters. You'll see it on my 7¼ inch wrist here. It actually has a good amount of presence for a 36 millimeter watch, especially on the rivet bracelet. I had a 14270. You guys have been following me long enough, you will have seen that I had that watch, and it wears very similarly, of course. It's always better to have a watch on a bracelet if you're trying to have it appear slightly larger than it is. Usually having it on a strap or a NATO brings the size down a little bit, the perception of the size. But this watch in particular, I mean, there's something about it. It has that sort of X factor that a lot of people talk about. It's really stunning in person, and you'll see here the box and papers, all original. Really cool to see some original papers and how the boxes were back in the day with Rolex. And honestly, I have to say, I think the 1016 and the Explorer line in general has to be one of the most underrated Rolex lines in history. Usually overshadowed by the Submariner, the Daytona, the GMTs. But there's nothing like a simple three-hand Rolex that you can wear pretty much every single day. And this could fit a women's wrist, men's wrist. It really is sort of the perfect everyday vintage Rolex. Now, yes, at $20,000, we're talking a lot of money. We're talking a lot of different hot horology brands. We're talking about Patek Calatravas. We're talking about perpetual calendars from Jaeger-LeCoultre, hot horology from Breguet, Chopard, H. Moser. The list is really endless under 20K. But the thing is, you buy a Rolex, a vintage Rolex in particular, for a lot of different reasons. A lot of ties to their innovation over the last 100 years or so, the heritage, the impact they've made on the world. So, if you're a vintage sport watch collector, I think the 1016 is definitely a very underrated, high priority item that should be on your wish list. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed all this footage. Like, subscribe, follow me on my Instagram, link in the description, and I will catch you guys in the next